Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another SiteMap showcase. It's good to be with you this morning. Have a special guest with us here, Matt Mikolajczyk. He's our director of reality capture. So excited to have him along for the ride here. So yeah, today we want to be discussing BIM and reality capture access, specifically within SiteMap and all that you can do. Take you through a demo of all that with Matt. Matt's been a key part of SiteMap development for quite a while now. And so, yeah, it's just great to have him on the call here. So, really just to sum all this up, we're going to show you how to bring your virtual tours, your point clouds, models, really into one single source of truth, whether that's what GPRS collects in the field, or maybe you have an existing model that you're working with, or some sort of virtual tour that you would like to bring into the platform. We're going to walk you through kind of what that looks like and how your team can use it at your facility or on your project. So yeah, excited to get things rolling here. So yeah, from this field capture perspective, how we collect the data, turning that into a digital as-built. We're going to walk through some of that, how to measure and verify within the in the platform as well. So really taking that initial line work that we collect, how to get that into point cloud, into a model, and really how your facility can fully use that data from a 3D or BIM model perspective. So just a couple things here before we get started. So we will talk a little bit about our deliverables and a little bit about mapping and modeling, take you through a story of how we got to this point and all that. We're going to take you through a live demo and then go through a Q&A at the very end of the session here. So that's kind of gives you a little overview. A couple housekeeping things before we get rolling. So we want to communicate back and forth. So we want this to be live and interactive. So, if you'd like to come on stage, if you have a question, we'll prompt you to come on stage. You can join Matt and I live. Or if you want to submit your question here in the chat, just at the very bottom here, you can see the little chat icon. Just pull that up and we can chat back and forth. Maybe Matt's going through a demo and you have a question during the demo. I can pause Matt and get your question answered for you there. So we do want to start off with a couple questions. We love getting our audience's feedback here. So just first question right off the bat, do you use BIM models at your site or facility? So what does that look like? Are you using 3D BIM models at your site? We love to collect and get feedback. We use this information to further develop SiteMap, further help our deliverables, and your feedback is so critical with what we do every day. So, yeah, it looks like so far most everyone they use BIM models, so that's perfect, really, for what we're talking about here today. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to our second question. So, most of you are using 3D BIM models, but what file types do you prefer your as-builts or BIM models to be in? Is your team using Revit? Are you using Civil 3D, some sort of CAD or DWG file, Navisworks, or maybe something else? So we'd love to get that feedback from the group. I'll give you just a little bit of time here to answer in the poll question here on the right. This looks like Revit. Revit looks like a popular one. Give it just another second here. So most of you look like it is a Revit model that you're working in. So that's perfect. That's exactly what we want to talk through a little bit today. We appreciate you answering those questions, and yeah, let's dive in. So Matt, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. Thanks for having me today. So my name is Matt Mikolajczyk. I'm the director of our reality capture service line. I'm actually a civil engineer of over 25, actually closer to 30 years now, and been with GPRS for about 8 of those years. I started in bridge design, bridge layout, did site development type work, also utility locating, utility design for refineries, for water distribution loops and all the like, but came to GPRS to start our CAD department. And at that time, we also started this project called SiteMap. So it's been really a cool thing to be a part of since the beginning, just the initial thought of SiteMap and what value it could add to our clients, and how we could really try to bring all of the data into one platform to give you a single source of truth for everything that we're able to locate and map and provide for you, but also for you all to be able to bring your files into to give you an easier place to find those documents and share it with your teams.
Yep. Yeah, it's exciting. We've come a long way, and I just wanted to kind of show you this. I doodled this up this morning, but this was your classic GPRS deliverable when I first started. So this is before we were collecting with GPS or laser scanning or anything like that. So we were sketching onto client drawings, facility drawings, maybe from a hand sketch perspective here. But you look at, what's on the screen and now how we can visualize the information, how we can capture much more detail with the technology. It's super exciting, and it's awesome to have you on the call today. So Matt, kind of where I'm at with the whole conversation is just kind of understanding like what's a base deliverable, and then kind of just walking through that whole story of like where we've come from, with our deliverables, and kind of what we offer today from a reality capture standpoint.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I'm glad you pointed out that deliverable, because that's really how we started when I first came. Is some of our jobs were mapped in the system, some of them were hand drawn. We weren't really doing any reality capture at that point. But we've been just adding additional services as we talk and hear from our clients and what kind of projects, what kind of value that would add to their projects, to their facilities, to their needs. And we've been, listening. We've been adding different types of things along the way. So really, with utility locating, obviously we've been marking the ground since we started 25 years ago. But more recently, in the last 8 years, we've started mapping all those out with GPS and getting them into SiteMap in an automated process. And then if it's areas where its satellite is denied, or if we're inside of a building, we want to maybe get plans of those buildings, or we want to get as-built drawings of the MEPs, or even just point cloud data. That's where we started, bringing in this reality capture service line. And with SiteMap, we're able to really bring all those deliverables into one platform. So whether we're out there just capturing a point cloud for an engineering firm or an architect so that they can do their CAD, we can actually get that data into SiteMap. Or if we're turning that into a virtual tour, maybe they just want us to capture the data and give them a virtual tour. SiteMap's a really easy web-based platform where you can access that virtual tour or that point cloud data right on your phone, right on your computer, and just gives you your whole team a lot easier way of accessing it, not having to install a super large file on your computer, so that you can just have a simple virtual tour that you can walk through. And then obviously we have our own internal modeling team, where if we wanted to convert that point cloud into a floor plan, or into reflective ceiling plans, into elevation views, into a full MEP or BIM model of your facility, we have the capabilities of doing all that. And again, we provide access to that through SiteMap, so that you don't have to have all of your team install and have Revit on their machine. They can actually log into SiteMap, view those models, take measurements, get value out of that, and actually use the data that we're creating without having to install and train people on complicated systems, and even risk them messing things up by editing those systems once they have them. So this is really a great way to view the data, get information out of the data that we're adding to the system, but also kind of control who's able to edit the information, and who's able to access the information as well. Yeah,
that's really good. Do you think that you could give a little bit of a breakdown from like the accuracy of maybe a virtual tour, maybe like a Matterport type capture, all the way up to maybe a Revit file, a model that we create? Just what's the accuracy level to those?
Yeah, and that's a great question. We have a number of different tools we use for reality capture. If we start off with the virtual tour from a Matterport camera, or from other systems that we have, we're typically looking at about, they claim 3/4 inch accuracy, but over global it may be a little bit more than that. may not be quite 3/4 from one end of the building to the other. It may be, 6 inches or a foot off over the length of a building, but still pretty accurate and still pretty valuable for most of our clients. And the rate of pace is really quick with that type of equipment. So if you don't really need to model off of it, if you just need to be able to walk through a space, identify different scope items or identify different muster points or eye wash stations, it's a pretty good tool. Now, if you need to model from that data, if you need to have a more dense point cloud, something that's really accurate, we can utilize different laser scanning pieces of equipment to in order to model those pipes that are 1 inch or larger, 2 inch or larger, those structural elements, and give you a higher level of detail, a floor plan, and have it be BOMA compliant from the measurements that we're taking. So and that can also turn into a virtual tour. So it actually has multiple benefits beyond just being accurate. You can actually have that same virtual tour and now be able to measure in a photo really to a point cloud that's 3 to 4 millimeter accurate in a lot of cases, and or 4 to 6 millimeter accurate, so that you can have really high confidence and that whatever you're planning is going to fit, or that whatever you're planning may not fit and needs to be rethought out, but just give you the full the full view of the structure, the facility, or the item that you're working on. Whether you need it super high accuracy or not, we can really accommodate whatever your need is.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I mean, for me, I don't have access to all the software to view a BIM model, but I can go into SiteMap and I can click on a virtual tour. I can get some rough measurements. Maybe I want higher detail. Maybe I want more accuracy. I can drop into some of those models and collect the width of a door frame or something like that, just with a couple clicks. And again, I don't have a 6-year degree in how to use CAD or some of these BIM models, but someone like me can go in there and grab the information, from just very easily there. So, so in the spirit of just digitizing and all these visuals, I think it's a great time to walk us through some of the demos of what some of these deliverables look like. And just take us through, I think it's awesome just to start with the virtual tour walkthrough. Kind of that base, 3D capture there. So why don't you start with something like a virtual walkthrough, if you could.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'll share my screen and jump into the platform. And just to make it a little more clear, I'll just go to full screen mode. I kind of like working in this mode quite a bit. So again, this is kind of an overview of SiteMap. All these blue bubbles kind of show the density of jobs that we've done across the country. And there's actually hundreds of thousands of jobs in SiteMap since 2021. But I'm going to actually just zoom in to Toledo. Our headquarters is actually on the map here, but I'm actually going to not look at that. I'm going to go to the University of Toledo and just kind of look around and see what we've done on site. So now you may already be aware of our utility locating services and video pipe inspection and leak detection, and how we were mapping all that information going into SiteMap. But you may not be aware that we also can do the same thing with reality capture. So I'm gonna go ahead and just go to my layers and turn off the utility layer. And now we're just looking at different icons for virtual tours and models. And I can just focus on that if I want. So if I want to go and look at the glass bowl, I can just simply click, hit my play button, and now there's an iframe where that virtual tour is going to open up, and I am inside, a portion of the glass bowl. Now we do have different integrations with Matterport and other systems, but this is just, an example of a simple Matterport scan that we did inside the glass bowl, where I can go ahead and navigate, take measurements. Maybe we wanted to know how wide this electrical panel is, for instance. But you can just simply click and measure, and you can get fairly accurate information right at your fingertips without having to make the trip. Some cases across country to do that. I'm just sitting here in my office, actually just north of Toledo, but obviously it would have taken me half an hour to drive there, get access, and all the like, and it would have taken me a half a day to do something just that simple without having a virtual tour.
You go
So this is
back
going
to
to
the
have
old days.
obviously a lot of
Go back to the old days where you were, doing hand measurements and sketches and things like that versus what you can do with something like this. Pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's really a game changer. Just to show you the value of that, I'm actually gonna now leave the University of Toledo, turn my utilities back on, just a simple click, and I'm gonna go across town now to a hospital project that we worked on, and this is another virtual tour example with a little bit more mechanicals and exterior and interior space combined into one virtual tour to give you a little sample of what that might look like. So this was a project that we worked on with a local contractor here. They had been tasked with expanding a central utility plant just adjacent to an existing utility plant. And you can imagine all the utilities that would be in the way of a project like that. This particular site was a riverbed at one point, so we actually had to put caissons in to support the structure. And just imagine putting those caissons around all these different electrical duct banks and storm lines and the like. So we marked the ground. We captured our virtual tour in point cloud using laser scanning equipment. And now I can simply walk through the facility. I can take measurements just like I could in the other platform. And this one is actually accurate enough where maybe I wanted to know what the bolt spacing is on this flange. I could just simply measure that and feel pretty confident in that 5 inches. So again, really cool features for measuring. This one actually has some really other cool features too, where if I wanted to tag different things in the tour, like eye wash stations or fire extinguishers, I can easily do that. But also if things aren't tagged, I can do object character recognition, and maybe I want to see where our oxygen serving is, and just click on that text, and boom, it found it in the image. So just some really cool options in these virtual tours, and they're going to get more and more robust, being able to find specific objects, be able to tag certain things automatically. A lot of those things are going to start being a reality, and even getting that converted to a Revit file, easier is going to be part of the future. So yeah, those are the virtual tours. I was going to jump into an example of a model, but yeah, any questions in the chat we want to address before we do that?
That's a good call, Matt. I look over here. Yep, I don't see anything yet. So yeah, that's a great point. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them there in the chat, and we'll try to get them answered for you. So yep, carry on.
All right, sounds great. Well, I was gonna now jump into the model that we provided for this project. So not only did we do the utility locating, the video pipe inspection in order to locate all the lines and laser scan it, we also were able to turn this into a 3D model for our client. So here we're opening up a this actually a Navisworks file. It's opening up through Autodesk Drive. So this is just the integration that we have to enable to show this data in one spot, but but the point is that file is linked on the building. It's linked on the site. So you don't have to go through searching for files to try and figure out what it was named or who has the current version. You just have to click on the icon and you're there. So in this particular model, the client provided us the new building footprint and caissons that I'm turning on and off. And then we were able to tie those to the same grid as our utility locating, which you see here, and draw all the underground utilities for the project. And obviously this helped with a lot of clash detection activities. It really allowed the entire team to be able to walk through and look at where all these clashes are and talk through different ways of avoiding them without actually having to have Revit installed on all their machines. So it's just a great way for not only the VDC that's on the job, the BIM coordinator, but also the guy that's putting these caissons in, the facility owner. They can go and look at these things themselves, and it just allows the whole team to participate in the whole process by giving them access like this to view everything. Great. And then, I'm actually going to go to my panel here on the left-hand side. There is actually a reality capture panel. So when you click on this and you have jobs that have reality capture on them, you're actually going to have your reality capture items listed in the panel like so. So that if you wanted to, say, go and look at a model that is in the Maryland Zoo, for instance, this is another example, I can simply click there. I click the take me to location button, and now I'm at the Maryland Zoo, and I can see all the utilities that were located there. Again, I can turn off my utility layer and just focus on, these 3D models that were developed. I can do the little mini view here, or I can expand it by hitting the play button. And now I'm, in that model. I'm able to, look at a section view. If I wanted to, cut through the walls, I can do that. Rotate the model around where that cut is. I can even jump into a first person mode and use my key controller to walk through it as if it was a video game. So there's just a lot of really cool features with a lot of good value that this adds without necessarily having to have it installed on your system. Just a simple viewer, and a lot of times that's all people really need is a way to get in there, view the model, what was put together, maybe take some measurements, look around, and just see it, be able to use it, understand what was done, and just get more context around what information is available on site.
Matt, I have a question for you. Just thinking about all this myself here. So, from a field to finish solution, how long would this process take to collect this information and to be able to provide something like this back? How long would that process take?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, a small building like this elephant house here, it maybe be a half a day, maybe a full day, depending on how many buildings we're capturing on site. But it's really a quick process, and that would give us enough information from that one point cloud to build this model for our clients. Now, there is a lot of detail on the different stone and different features, the windows, the doors, the archway entries. So there would be a time to take that data that we captured, register the data, put together a model, and deliver it. But altogether, we typically have a rule of thumb of 1 day in the field. We have a 3-day queue with our registration team, which we can sometimes work on if something needs to be expedited. But that's just the time to get through the process. Usually only takes about a half day or less to actually register it, but 3 days to get through that queue. And then once we have the model or the point cloud ready to model, off of that 1 day of capture, it's usually about 10 days to reproduce a Revit file like you see here, along with the plan data and such. Now, again, it very dependent on the type of work that we're doing or specific scope items for the project, but you can kind of get an idea of how soon we can turn things around. And that's not really a scalable thing. So it's not, 1, 3, 10. It's, that's correct for a 1 day job. But if it's a 10-day job where we're on site capturing a much larger facility, like a manufacturing plant or refinery, it would be 1 day on or 10 days on site, maybe 10 days in registration to get through that registration process. But it wouldn't be 100 days modeling. It would be, a fraction of that. So it's, again, it's just dependent on the project, but we're always willing to provide a project scope, fee, timeline at request. That's something we don't charge for. So yeah, definitely reach out. Let us know what kind of projects you have and how we can assist. And this is something that we do nationwide. So just like with our utility locating services, we can come out with our reality capture services and help you with everything above ground, just like we have been below ground for years.
Yeah, that's it's really impressive if you think about it. Just being able to process that through the way we collect the information and all that. So that's pretty incredible, really. So yeah, we've talked about virtual tours. We've talked about models. I see clicking on a point cloud. So can you kind of just walk through a little bit of just like that viewer and kind of what you can do from that perspective there?
Yeah, so we do have a point cloud viewer, and this is just an example of a site that was captured, and the client just wanted to have visibility of what that point cloud looks like. They didn't need to build, spend the time or the effort to build a virtual tour. They didn't need to spend the time or the effort to order a model, but they did want to see the point cloud. So this is an example of that. So let me go to the site here and see what we can see. I might have to refresh. Just bear with me for a second here. Oops. Point cloud, and I was at this particular site. Oh, can I just expand it here? So this is actually a integration with it's called Potry. It's a way of just viewing point clouds, just like we're looking at here. So I can zoom around. There's a lot of settings that you can control, but typically I'm just gonna kind of move around and look, and then also use the measurement tools here. So if I wanted to know, how wide the sidewalk is here, it is in metric, but it's 2.14 meters. So just a good way, again, to just have that point cloud available so that you can just look around and see what was captured and maybe take a few measurements. But it is a pretty cool tool to use.
So this is the raw data that we've collected. Are we able to integrate that with an existing model? Like if there's an existing point cloud or something like that, are we able to mesh the two together? For our client there?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So if you have an existing point cloud or existing Revit file already, we could take that point cloud and use that as a reference point for when we register our point cloud so that it's on the same grid. Also, if you have site control, we can occupy that control when we capture the laser scanning data so that it's all really in the same system. But yeah, that we do that a lot. A lot of times people have a 2D floor plan already, or they have a 3D model already, and they just need us to verify that the dimensions are correct, make any kind of updates, maybe update the BOMA analysis on it, that sort of thing. So that's something that we do every day.
Awesome. Yeah. So those are the three main deliverable types we have for BIM modeling. You can see how you can visualize in the platform. Anything that GPRS collects for your project or for your facility lives there in the reality capture feature there on the left-hand side of SiteMap. We're providing access for all those files and file types, right here in the platform. So that's, a really easy way to get to the information, and access that. So I see you pulling up another site here. Just while you're doing that, so we've talked a lot about like terrestrial scanning, and I know there's other ways with drone to, with LiDAR to collect maybe a larger site. Maybe you're just looking at exterior or rooftops. I think that might be important to talk about too, for just larger scale, projects or footprints. Can you talk a little bit about drone and how we collect with LiDAR there?
Yeah. Yep. So we do have some in-house pilots that we can utilize RGB drones to capture top-down imagery of sites. We've actually done a lot of also facade flights where we are getting close to the facades, doing vertical scans with the drone to capture imagery, and also put together a RGB point cloud of the facades. LiDAR, we do have access to some partners that help us with LiDAR capture, and obviously that's for shooting through your tree canopies and trying to hit the ground with a LiDAR that has higher return. We do a lot of that kind of coordination too. But we can really tie all those point clouds into SiteMap for access. We can tie them to the control that's on site. We can tie that to the buildings that we're capturing to really help you build a full, complete vision of the whole site. This example I pulled up actually was obviously a large site for utility locating, but we also did a virtual tour using laser scanning of the entire exterior. That same one virtual tour, I can actually set positions of where they start. So in this case, the virtual tour, the same virtual tour open, but it'll take me directly to the position that I had on the map. So I'm not guessing where I'm starting or how this location in the virtual tour, lines up with the utility mapping that I had on the screen. It flies me right to that. So obviously now I can see those paint on the ground, the day that they were placed, and where the GPS was placed to capture these catch basins and the paint marks, just to get a little bit more context. But obviously the same site could have also been flown with a drone to get the rooftops. Could have been flown with a LiDAR if there's a lot of, look like there's some tree canopy over here that we may have wanted to penetrate to get the ground shots or get higher fidelity of the power lines overhead. Those are all things that we can help navigate, consult, and provide for our clients.
It's so cool to see it all come together, just from field collection all the way through processing, and then to be able to visualize something like this is pretty incredible. So just kind of going back to the drone versus like terrestrial, just with production, I think I heard it said one time we can collect maybe 2 to 3 acres terrestrial, with the terrestrial scanners, and then from a drone standpoint, we could collect a much larger area. Do you have any idea, like just rough idea on how much we could collect there per day or in a certain amount of time?
Yeah, I mean, you could easily capture hundreds of acres a day with a drone. I mean, it's incredible how much space you can capture. So a lot of times, we can just do a 50-acre site, a fairly small fee, and give you a lot of high-level navigational grade information. To put an aerial image and SiteMap and to give you a rough idea of where the buildings are placed. But then we can use terrestrial scanning where drones fall short, or where we need additional detail and accuracy. That's where we can bring in laser scanning to help supplement, those large area drone captures.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Perstorp when we did that project, and just the level of detail on the drone image. Certainly, we created that ortho image on the map there, but also from a drone perspective, like what we were able to capture versus what we could collect from the ground. Both applications were definitely needed. But yeah, I see you pointed up right here. Just the resolution that you can collect from a drone is pretty impressive there. So I don't know if you want to walk through maybe just a couple items there and just kind of show the value there.
Yeah, obviously the drone imagery just adds all that context of where the paint was actually on the ground. So now if I go and turn on my utility layer, you can see how our marks actually line up with the paint that was physically placed on the ground. So it's just a great way to make sure that things weren't missed, and maybe this water line maybe does look like it goes away from the straight line a little bit, but that may be because we actually mapped the line in one vertex here and one vertex here, but maybe we needed one more point in the middle. So so this may show a little bit more detail on collecting additional point features and on site. You can see the storm line matches up really well with what was mapped. But the drone image also doesn't show this pink line because it's just in a dark shaded area, and that's where the map kind of takes over and adds more value. So really, these two paired together gives you a really great full view of what was actually captured on site, and not to mention our photos that are geotagged in the system to give you a closer view of those targets that were used to tie in some of the laser scanning, but also a closer view at the paint on the ground that was also mapped and also in the drone imagery. So you have 3 ways of checking that is truly there, and that's how it was originally marked.
Yeah, painting flags go away pretty quick there. So it's pretty awesome to be able to fly a site, right after the locate to capture that information. We recommend that, for a lot of our projects there. But we're also tying in the GPS line work as well. So, we can mesh the two together. If you have control points out on site, we can capture those with the drone as well. So, and we actually did that for this project just for accuracy and control. For the overlays and all that we were producing there with CAD and to some of these images you see here. So we tied them all together. So it came together really nice. So I appreciate you bringing that one up for sure.
Yeah, and you can actually see the control in the image too, which ties into some of the points that were captured. Not on right now, but you can kind of see what we're used to tie in that imagery, to the RTK data that was collected on each one of these lines. So it's really cool to see how they overlay and how accurate it really can be to give you a full picture of what the site looks like.
Yep. Absolutely. One other comment that I will make is, so we're showing you GPRS collected data. We have the ability to import, and that's what we've done actually here on this site. We had a control drawing and all that. And in previous showcases, we've showed you importing and things like that. But we can give you different views and things like that. So we're importing exterior information as well as the data we collect out on site. So if you have current plans, if you have existing models, if you have an existing CAD drawing, those are all file types that we can work with and we can bring into the platform, really so you can isolate and have one source of truth, for all that information. So this is a great example of us bringing it all together. So I really, really appreciate you showing us this site here. So.
Yeah, I'm happy to show you. I'm really excited for our clients, for our own staff, for really everyone that has access to SiteMap. And it is really cool that really every one of our clients does have access to SiteMap, where, that's just part of our process. We go out, we find utilities, we map them, and we give it to you in SiteMap. Now, obviously, with the site you see here, this client has chosen to, have a professional account with SiteMap, so they wanted to bring in some of their own data, and they wanted to, really have more access over who has, visibility to these things, visibility to their models, bringing in their files in one spot. So that's really where the value of the professional account comes, is where you really see the vision of SiteMap, and you want to bring all your data into SiteMap, not just what GPRS is located for you, but also your historics files. Get everything out of, we call the guy, Bob, the guy that has all the information on his head. Get that stuff out of his head, get it into SiteMap, get it somewhere that the whole team can use it, and give them a way to communicate via information, so that there's less strikes on site. They're more efficient in the work they do. They have access to the data that they need, not only on their computer but also on their tablet or on their iPhone or Android device. So it's just a great way to consolidate all the information and get it in one spot.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit before we go into the Q&A? Can you talk a little bit about project cycles? So kind of where we come into play, in front of the project to design. You did a little bit of this at the St. V, but where we were at design and then in the construction process and then that project handoff to the facility. Can you kind of just walk through that a little bit, where we come into play with those phases?
Yeah, absolutely. And we do help clients every day at each one of those stages. Whether you're planning a project and you don't have good data, you don't have as-builts on file that you can rely on, that have been updated, that they're not just red lines or that they're not existent, but that you can physically look at them and know that they're right. That's where we really add a lot of value. We can come in, discover or expose the unseen items, capture those items with laser scanning or GPS, register those items if it's a point cloud, get it into a model if you don't have it, so that you can use these tools like Revit, like Civil 3D or whatever you're using. These modern tools to, with your design, and not have to, recreate that yourself. We really help you have confidence in that as-built so you can start the design process. And then, once it's designed, it's ready for construction. We can go out and maybe that wasn't done at the beginning of the job. Maybe now we need to confirm that the design matches the site. So that's another area that we can help. A lot of contractors, we go out and just verify that this design matches the existing condition of the building. There's no changes that need to happen. All the dimensions line up. There's no potential conflicts of where lines are supposed to go. So we can validate that existing building doesn't change the design. During construction, obviously we can help just document the site as things change, as things go in, help you build that as built as you go. Or even if it hasn't been done throughout the whole process, we can help the contractor before they leave the site, document what can be seen using laser scanning, build that as built so that they can hand that off to the client. So even though they may not have done a great job of keeping track of changes throughout the whole process of construction, we can come in after the fact, document what we can see, and get that into an as-built that their client can rely on, and that their client can bring into other systems. Because they're likely, the facility owner wants to bring this data into their CMMS systems, or they want to use this information for future projects. Well, how much value is there for that facility to have that information right after construction? And then again, at any stage with the facility, if they just want to keep track of their assets or they don't have good information to start with, we can help them at any stage of the life cycle during operation, so that if they don't have good information, we can help them get that information that they need, get it into a format that they can build a BIM document with, or get it into a digital twin so that they can start utilizing all the cool features that are coming out with the world of AI and these digital twin offerings that are out there now. So we can really help with that entire life cycle of the building, of the project, and we do that every day for all of our clients.
Well said. I keep going back to St. V, but I know when we did the design versus the field capture, we found over 3 feet difference in accuracy there. You can imagine the change orders that would be associated with that when you start building and you're 3 feet off of what's actually being built. So that could be pretty powerful. We're trying to help facilities beyond the construction phase, and that's it's so exciting to be able to help and provide those solutions. So
yeah, and actually that example that you say right there, that actually wasn't even like that close to the central utility plant. It was actually on the adjacent building where there was a bust in the angle of the as-built plan. It was off a couple degrees, and that couple of degrees threw the whole face of the building off 3 feet or more. And that was something that we were able to do because we captured laser scan data. We weren't just focused on a single few points around the area that we're working. Because we're using laser scanning, we're capturing really everything that's in view within hundreds of feet, and we're able to do these checks even though that wasn't our main focus. It became apparent when we overlaid that as-built on top of our model. So it's pretty cool that by using laser scanning, just think of it as really a photo. Anything that's in view of the laser is going to be able to add value to that model.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And it's easy. I mean, we just have to be incorporated in the process, and we can provide these solutions pretty easily there. So let's go into a Q&A. I want to make sure we left plenty of time, to answer your questions. We did have one question come in from Charlie here. Does the viewer work on the mobile app? So I can kind of take that one. So yes, so we have a desktop version, which Matt was showing you here today, of how to access all the BIM models. So that's the desktop version of SiteMap. We actually have a mobile app version where you can access the information from a phone or a tablet. You can take that phone or tablet out on site. You can geo-reference. You can use the GPS function on your phone or tablet and use the locating feature to locate you where you're at specifically on that map. So the mobile viewer has new features that just came out with our 3.0 release. We actually have augmented reality now incorporated with the mobile app. So you can pan around the site and actually see utilities that we've marked on the ground, and it places them right at the surface. So augmented reality, I think, is going to be another great way to drive a safer facility or job site. And yeah, we certainly encourage you to use it for sure. So good question, Charlie. Anyone else have any questions, or we can go live? We can bring you on stage. Anything we can answer for you at this time. We'll give it a few minutes here. Matt, I have a question for you. So with all of the different softwares and different file types and things out there that are out, for us to access, how important do you think it is that SiteMap allows you to view and be able to access the information in one platform?
Yeah, I think that's a huge selling point of SiteMap. Obviously, you could get overrun with subscriptions and with different software and training and just just to be able to view something and to have that at your fingertips with SiteMap. I just really think that adds a lot of value to, like I said, really the whole team, not just the VDC, not just the engineer, the architect working on it, but the facility owner, the contractor, the worker that's behind the wheel about to dig, or even the carpenter or the plumber that's going into a building, just to have that information at their fingertips. They don't need to have Revit typically. They just need to be able to see the model and use it and get some information out of it. And that's really what we're providing is access. So I just think it's invaluable. The amount of access you have to these files is just really great for the whole team. And we've heard that from a lot of our clients that have pro accounts. And it's a great thing, and it's just going to get better from here, especially with augmented reality coming out and the things that we're doing with that for underground utilities. It's just going to prevent that many more strikes and make sure that many more people go home safe to their families at night. So it's just wonderful.
Yeah. Well said there. I think my clients sending me drawings. They send me a DWG. I have TrueView, to open it up, or they send a model over, and you have to have software to open it up. From what we do in SiteMap, I mean, just for me and where I sit and the clients I work with, it's just so nice to have a platform that I can view all that information in. So appreciate that. Looks like we have another question here. How does the accuracy of the scan compare to the accuracy of the final model in SiteMap? So we're out there doing the scan in the field in the collection there. How does that match what the accuracy of the final deliverable there?
Yeah, so obviously there is some interpretation of a point cloud, and a wall isn't always perfectly straight or at a 90-degree angle every single time. So obviously we do make some assumptions when we put these models together, but typically the clients would prefer that it's modeled kind of orthogonal or straight lines. It doesn't show the where the forklift operator ran into the side of the building. It's not going to show like that bump in the wall or that hole through the web of the column. It's going to show the way it was intended to be built, and that's really how a lot of people like to view it. But we can also model it, as it sets. So, think of a floor contour. We can actually show the contour of a floor to very tight accuracy, to show you how it actually slopes or how it's sagging or if there's any deformations in the slab. So it really depends on what the client needs. But we do try to draw that very, very close to that point cloud as we can get to show you existing condition. But also we do give you the point cloud so you can see where we maybe have made some assumptions on how accurate we draw that wall or that column, for instance.
Understood. Yeah, great question there. We'll just give it another minute or two, see if anyone else has any questions. Those both came through the chat. Again, if anyone wants to jump on live with us, we'd be willing to, walk you through something in SiteMap or a modeled example there. So, we'll give it another minute or two here. And we appreciate all the engagement and the feedback. Matt, it's been so valuable. You and I have worked together for quite a while now, and I feel like I learn something every time we engage in a project. I feel like I learn something every time I open up a new model or see new examples. So it's so exciting just to see how far technology's come, how the accuracy of this information can be used, and it's just I love it. Every day I get to work with you, so appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, appreciate you. It's been great. So happy to circle back and meet with you today and go through SiteMap. I have a lot of personal investment in SiteMap. I just feel like I'm really still part of the team, and obviously my focus is now on reality capture, but my focus is also making sure that reality capture is in SiteMap in the future, and what we can do with our reality capture deliverables in getting it into SiteMap, and how much value that's going to add to our clients. So really an exciting time for SiteMap and for really the whole reality capture service line, and myself. So thanks again.
Yep. Yeah. It was great having you on today. Appreciate you answering the questions there and really walking us through the visuals. On a couple feature Fridays ago, I walked through some of the, virtual tours and things, but kind of maximizing it and optimizing, some of those views. I think you did a great job. So we appreciate it. As always, we want to make sure that, we're doing the best we can here. So if you're willing to meet with us, if you would love a live demo, we'd love to jump on with you and show you more. Maybe you have a specific project or a facility that you want us to take a look at. Matt and I are always a resource and willing to help in any way we can here. We also have a SiteMap support team, SiteMap at support at sitemap.com. And you can always reach out to us if you have any questions. And it was so nice jumping on with you, Matt. It was great having you. And I'm sure we'll see you on a future one.
Sounds great. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.